Okay, folks, welcome back to Allergic to Stupidity. My name is Bev, and this is my channel, very small channel, where I get to rant and scream and yell at whatever is frustrating me. And for any of you who might be new, um, this started out as a mental health thing. Is I just my poor kid would listen to me yell and scream, and he was on the same page as me for most of the things I wanted to yell and scream about. But there's only so much you want to yell and scream at your kid. I mean, he is an adult, but at the same time, maybe he doesn't always want to listen to mom. So if I got to yell and scream out into cyberspace, I wasn't bothering him, but I still got to vent. I got to verbalize those things that pissed me off at the time. So here it is. If you happen to like me, listen to me rant and rave about whatever, hit like, hit subscribe, and share. Especially if it's something that you're going, oh God, yes, little Johnny needs to hear about that, or little Janie. And those of you who are new, because I do notice my subscription numbers go up a bit. I am a teacher. Have been doing this I'm starting my 45th year. At this stage, I am teaching online and teaching in people's homes, which then becomes tutoring. But it's the same thing because sometimes these kids go, I didn't get it. So then I teach it, and they go, oh, now that makes sense. So it's still teaching. Uh, but today's rant, by the way, I usually have a coffee, and it's 28 degrees in southern Ontario again today, and with humidity, however, is about climate change. Now, my last video, I'm going to make a point of sitting away from the table because I'm down in the dining room right now because it's so hot upstairs in my office. And I don't want to hit the table because then it makes my camera shake, is climate change. And I ranted about it last time, and I ranted about those people whose heads are in the sand and go, this isn't really happening, blah, blah, blah. And some of their points they've held onto it because it makes them feel better, is that climate change is a naturally occurring geological time era, eon thing. It happens. And that's how we get ice ages, and we get the times of the dinosaurs, and the plates move, and all the rest of it. And those of you who don't know, I have a degree in geography, which was geography and geology and like anything in that realm. So yeah, and it all makes logical sense. However, since the Industrial Revolution, it has sped up, and with all the forest fires that have been happening this year, it's becoming more noticeable. Between last year and the brush fires in California, and all the fires right across Canada this year and Europe. And just wait till summer flips to the other side of the planet and it hits Australia. It's becoming more noticeable. And I ran into a website called Heritage Land. And I got, okay, I'm going to be open-minded. I want to listen to the other side. And I have ranted out this before. I tell it to my data management kids too. I can take statistics and prove both sides of the story. And she was going on and on about how this is fake and that the number of forest fires are down. And she's right. She's right. If you get a bar graph, and look at it, we are in a cycle of the fewer and fewer forest fires. However, having said that, you also get a graph. So she's held her teeth onto that one, saying there's fewer forest fires. She's not wrong. There are fewer forest fires. But then, and we're just comparing Canada. She's out of the U.S. So her numbers and stats were out of the U.S. But if you look at Canada, she's right. Our number of forest fires are less. But the amount of land burnt is up. And again, it's cyclical too. Because if the jet stream is in a certain position, or we have El Nino or El Nino, I can never remember which one's which, is in our advantage, we'll go through 2 or 3 years where it's cooler weather. We've got a really cool summer, and another time we'll have a really hot summer. And when people who are against the claim of climate change, they go, well, see, we have a cool summer this year. Look at all the data and realize it's cyclical. It literally is cyclical. But then look at the whole picture. So she was just looking at the number of forest fires, and I went, okay, but what about the amount of forest burnt? That's up. Again, cyclical. But every time it hits a peak, that peak is higher. And that's where it is. That's where we can sit there and say, yes, there's climate change. And then all our little bodies go, well, what the hell can I do about it? So then that comes to the other part. Remember back, for those of us that are oldie goldies, and if you were a boomer, would you please not be the stereotypical boomer, because those are the ones of my age group that I have absolutely no use for. They drive me right around. It was so much better in the 80s. I only had to pay. It's like, this is 2025, guys. Back in the 70s and 80s, there was the reality that the ozone layer in the upper atmosphere was thinning. And the ozone, there was an ozone hole developing around the Antarctic. And ozone, for those of you who aren't chemically inclined, and I'm not that chemically inclined, but I do have taught grade 7, 8 science, so I know enough, a little bit. Normally, an oxygen molecule, which is a combination of more than one atom, is two oxygens attached. Oxygen atom and oxygen atom, they like each other, so they hold hands. Ozone is three oxygen atoms that are held on together. And they are really, really hard to break. But we were spewing things into the environment. Freon. It was in our refrigerators that kept everything cool. We didn't understand. The generation before us that were building these things, they didn't understand that. But in the 70s, we figured that out. We went, oh shit, this is not a good thing. Because that lovely triangular molecule of three oxygens that are attached deflect a lot of UV rays. So that the amount of UV rays that get down to the Earth's surface is at a level that the ecosystems that have developed, including us humans, can handle it. And we can make use of it. It's good stuff. Makes us. But as that ozone layer was shrinking, as it was getting thinner, but also getting the hole itself getting bigger, more and more was getting through. And the scientists went, oh crap. We said, humans got together and said, this is not a good thing. And we figured out what was wrong. And we went, okay, what can we do? We can do this. We can get rid of anything that produces the frisson. That stuff that was stereotypical that we knew was inside our refrigerators. That's the one that most people know. It's used for lots of other things. We got rid of that. Now, if you watch the statistics and the science, which, I'm sorry guys, that's a me thing, that ozone layer is thickening and the hole is shrinking. Yes, it's taken decades because that frisson that goes up in the atmosphere that's damaging it doesn't just vanish. It stayed and it just keeps bouncing around, damaging more and more ozone molecules. But slowly it deteriorates and it stops breaking up the ozone layer. And so there's no frisson up there anymore. So it's a decreased amount. Our ozone layer is healing itself. Cheers to Mother Nature. Okay? So my point here is, yes, climate change right now is scary and terrifying, and we have things like today in Southern Ontario, I'm not really sure where the smoke is coming from, but it's not Southern Ontario pollution. That's a different haze. This sort of has a goldy haze. It's funny, but unless you've lived through fire season, which I have, it has a goldy campfire look to it. You may not smell the wood burning, but it has this goldy, especially late in the evening. You're like, yep, okay. We've got it again. So it is out there. So you and I, we can't magically make it change instantly, but we can do our little bit. If nothing else, it'll make us feel good. Of doing those things that will cut down on the amount of use on fossil fuels, which is the major thing that's causing the heating up of the planet, is the use of fossil fuels. And scream and yell and go, yes, guys, I really want solar panels, and I really want heat pumps, and we really want that. And encourage your energy companies. Shell did it a few years ago. They're very quiet about it right now, but they went, oil is not going to last forever. We need to keep our business alive. We need to expand. So they've been looking into and developing green energy. So They did a business smart thing, guys. Let's expand. Let's thing. So you and I can yell and scream. We don't have to yell and scream. We just start buying those things. Use our purchasing power to tell people this is what we want. It's one of the reasons I only buy Ontario products. And then Canadian products. Not because I'm pro Ontario, because I'm not sorry, people from Ontario. It's not my favorite province. I'd rather live out east. I'm going to be honest. Or I'm Northwest Ontario. I'm not a great lover of Southern Ontario. But I want my product to travel as little as possible. So I have found a farmer's market 3 kilometers away. And on the weekends I go up and see her. And I pick up my fresh fruit and vegetables from her. Because literally the last watermelon I picked was still warm. It had just come off the field. That's how fresh it was. Grow my own stuff. So you can do it. And do it to the amount you can. So in closing, years ago I was working at Bulkburn. And it was Earth Day. So April the 22nd. And this little old lady, sweetest little thing, comes in. This is what happens when you're me and you have 40 million different jobs. You have all these stories. This lady came in and she was picking up a little tiny bag of her favorite candy because she was going to do her thing for Earth Day. And what was she doing? I think everybody was supposed to turn the lights off from 7 to 8 or something that night. She was going to make a cup of tea beforehand. And then she was going to turn off all the lights in her apartment. And for that 1 hour, she was going to have her candy, her cup of tea, and read a book. Did it really make a major difference? No. But she felt like she was part of it. And in her own little tiny way, she, outside of putting a smile on my face, she made a difference. Like, we can do this. We just need to stop the yelling and the screaming and gaslighting and trying to blame everybody else and trying to make it everybody else's problem. Anyways, there you go. There's a smile on your face. Another smile on your face. It's not quite. I ran into a little old lady in 2020 going through my grocery store who, she had her mask on. She had her mask on, but she cut this part out and put netting so it'd be easier for her to breathe, but that way nobody else would get it. I didn't say boo. I literally didn't say boo. She was doing her bit. She wasn't being one of these arrogant, I can't. And she's going, okay, got my mask on. She even went, got my mask on. So she put her mask on. She did what she was supposed to do, but she found it difficult to breathe. So she put the netting there. I'm thinking, and I just looked at the lady beside me. I said, she's trying. And she went, yeah, but that's cute. It's like, okay, got it. Anyways, hope everybody's having a good day. And don't worry, September's coming. We're like 2 months into summer. We only have a month left and fall's here. By the time I get my kids back into school, fall will be here and we'll cool off. Take care, guys. Have a good day. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And don't forget to share.